Recording in progress.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's call court to order. Today is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. It's 9 a.m. Proof of posting, please.
The agenda was posted on Friday, September 1st, 2023 at 1:45 p.m.
Thank you. This time, let's take a moment of silence and then we'll have a pledge to the flag. Please stand.
Please join the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
of the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Okay. All right, we have several proclamations. Before that, if there's anyone here to speak to the court on business matters, please do so at this time. I did deny Commissioner Smith for selling his Baylor season tickets during the public comment time. Anyone here to speak to the court on business matters? All right, if not, going to items under proclamations. Under proclamations D1, a proclamation declaring the month of September as National Recovery Month. And I would like to ask Dustin Chapman to please read the proclamation. And so who will be coming up? Does everybody want their picture taken? If we do, we can, we can do it. So Dustin, go ahead and start reading it and we'll assemble at the stand.
Yes, sir. This is a proclamation of the McLennan County Commissioners Court declaring the month of September as National Recovery Month. Whereas mental health and substance use disorders affect all communities nationwide, with commitment and support, those impacted can embark on a journey of improved health and overall wellness. The focus of National Recovery Month this September is to celebrate all people that make the journey of recovery possible by embracing the 2023 theme, Join the Voices for Recovery. Together we are stronger. Recovery Month spreads the message that people can and do recover every day. And whereas the impact of mental health and substance use disorders is apparent in our local community, 1 in 5 adults experience a mental health condition every year. 1 in 17 lives with a serious mental illness.
Help. I mean, you can fiddle with my speaker.
Georgina, sorry, you are okay. Such as schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Over 500,000 adults in Texas live with a serious and persistent mental illness. About 1/2 of the mentally impaired population are below the 200% poverty level. Through Recovery Month, people become more aware and able to recognize the signs of mental health and substance use disorders and encourages people in need of recovery services to seek help. Managing the effects of these conditions help individuals achieve healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally. And whereas the Recovery Month observance continues to work to improve the lives of those affected by mental health and substance use disorders by raising awareness and educating communities about the effective services that are available. For the above reasons, I'm asking the citizens of McLennan County to join me in celebrating this September as National Recovery Month. And whereas McLennan County advocates recovery in our community through the continued support of the 3 specialty courts, DWI Drug Court, Veterans Treatment Court, and Mental Health Court. Therefore, be it proclaimed that the McLennan County Commissioners Court declares the month of September as National Recovery Month in McLennan County, and call upon our community to observe this month with compelling programs and events that support this year's observance, the 32nd anniversary of Recovery Month. Be it further proclaimed, a copy of this proclamation be made a permanent part of the minutes of the Commissioners Court. Judge.
Thank you. Well, as many of you know that in McLennan County, we've got a long way to go to really address mental health issues across the county, but I think we've made a lot of strides forward with the establishment of mental health court and other special courts. Have been able to focus on that and really put more effort around it. I know the folks at the sheriff's department and the jail really appreciate the additional efforts going into trying to get people in the revolving door to be able to be stabilized and try to live a normal life as they possibly can. So I just want to thank all of y'all for putting the effort in and all of the both volunteers and people who work for the county to focus on that. And so if there's anyone that wants to speak to this, and whoever wants me to let them take this as I present it to you.
I appreciate that. I would like to say a few words quickly. First of all, let me thank the commissioners and Judge Felton for this proclamation. Quite honestly, the proclamation is really a recognition of the hard work of the people in this community that are struggling with substance abuse and mental health issues. If you know someone that is dealing with these issues, you understand it's not a job where they can punch the clock and they show up at work and they leave and they're done. It is a daily struggle. It's a struggle that's real. And this proclamation just allows us to publicly encourage those that are dealing with these problems to continue the fight every single day. And it's also recognition that there are a lot of people in the community that care about those that are struggling. This Commissioner's Court, along with Judge Felton, as well as the people in this room, and hundreds of thousands of people, quite honestly, in the mental health industries and in substance abuse fields, at the law enforcement, and others in the community that are actively engaged in helping those that are dealing with this problem. I really appreciate the work that they all do. I get the fun part of being on the front page and get to be in the cover of magazines, but I don't do the work that all these other people do. They do the front lines, tough day-to-day work, and I really appreciate that. So my thank you to them as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Now make a motion, we approve this proclamation.
Second.
Motion been made, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passed. Thank y'all very much. Y'all are welcome to stay and watch the sausage made, or you can go on to do what you're supposed to need to do today. So it's up to you. Thank you. Appreciate y'all coming. All right. Going right quick to the consent agenda, recommended pulls are E3A, HR matter for Constable Precinct 4, E3B, HR matter for Constable Precinct 5, E4N.
It's supposed to be B, I'm sorry, Judge, E4B. It's a not.
E3B?
E4.
Oh, at 4, okay, it's a
Yeah.
typo. E4B and also E4N.
Well, this is E4B instead of the E4N. There is no E4N.
Oh,
Sorry, that's fine.
thank you. All right. Any other pulls recommended by the court? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the pulls previously mentioned?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, I'd like to hold those pulled items for right now and go to items G5 under, let's see, G5. Okay, G5 is authorization of MiFi hardware quote for Verizon. So Jared, is Jared on or Dustin?
Yes, I'm on.
Right? Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So, yeah, we're looking at replacing the hardware that we use to connect our poll book laptops at our polling sites. Currently, we have an outdated USB device. We're looking at going with something that's upgraded, some Wi-Fi. We're talking about Verizon to do this. The plan itself that we're going to be using during the election is not going to change. Neither will be the plan that we use during the time that we don't use the poll books. What that means is we can have it on an active plan during an election, and then we can take it off that active plan it's at a cheaper rate so that we can save the county some money. And that's what we've been doing currently. They would ship these devices in that active plan so we can test them, make sure everything's working, and then put them out of that active plan whenever, until it's time for us to actually use the poll books. So in doing so, these devices will be free, and they'll ship them to us as soon as we get it approved. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
All right, any questions?
Is there do we currently have a charge for what we're doing right now, a monthly charge?
Yes, we do. Yes.
And so what are we talking about, the difference then between this monthly charge and what we're paying right now, and the fact we're going to save money because there's going to be a off-season?
Yeah, so actually, the monthly charges, that's not going to change. Those plans are staying the same.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
so the 27.35.28 a month is going, that's what we're currently paying.
No, it's like a $35 a month plan. So, and then when they're not being used, it's a 35-cent a month plan. And we can change that back and forth as we need. And of course, part of that charge goes to the entities that are holding an election. That goes to, what they're charged. So they pay a percentage for it.
Okay, thank you.
Have you checked the coverage map on this, and what is
Yes.
so would we do away with the AT&T cards that we had to buy
Yeah.
in emergency?
Actually, we're currently using Verizon right now, so the map is not going to change because there's still Verizon devices. One of the changes is it's going to be on what's called a first responders plan, which will give us priority if there is like a network outage to get onto a network so that our poll books will stay connected. And that was something we worked with Verizon to make sure that we have that, because we cannot go down on election day. And once again, just to be clear to everybody, this is not connected to the actual voting system itself. This is the poll books. This gives us that live voter data, and it prevents people from voting twice.
Other questions?
Okay, wait a minute. What was that last sentence you said?
So
About
this is
people
not
voting
connected to the,
twice?
yeah,
What did you say about people voting twice?
there's nobody voting twice, no. So this prevents anybody from voting twice because it gives us live voter data. Since we do have vote centers, people can go vote at any of the polling locations that are open. These poll books are connected to each other. And so if somebody checks in, then all of the poll books are updated with that person's information, so they can't go across the county and try to vote twice.
Okay, have we had that problem?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely not. And the reason is because our poll books are connected to each other.
Other questions? Is there a motion to approve the quote from Verizon?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to go to items N2. Dustin, if you'll go through that.
Yes, sir. So this is discussion and or action regarding ADA repairs for future vote centers, format of ADA modifications, agreement/use agreement, approving projects to proceed without further Commissioners Court approval if the project does not exceed a set amount, and related matters. And so I know Jared's on, and as he has presented before, that due to the passage of SB 924, we're required to increase the number of Election Day vote centers by 12 new sites. So Jared, do you want to kind of step through this? And then Mike, TJ, Ken, and I have been working with Jared on this as well.
Right. So as we discussed a few weeks back, we are having to increase the number of vote centers in the county due to the passage of SB 924. One of the big obstacles in getting these vote centers finalized and actually going into use is going to be making sure that they are ADA compliant. We have already had 5 assessments completed on some of the potential sites, and all 5 of those sites do have some issues. I know when we discussed this a few weeks back, I wasn't going to ask you to, make any major renovations. We don't want new parking lots or anything like that. But some of the, an example of what is going to need to be done is there may be, a sidewalk that may need leveling, or a parking lot or a parking space that may need leveling, or new parking signage, or I think there may be some restriping in some of the parking lots. So the example that was provided in the agenda packet, we had done this in the past, and I believe what was passed was around $4,000 to $5,000 in repair changes. And basically, what I need from you is, if you agree to do this, we need to set an amount, like a limit on what the court or the county is willing to pay for these repairs. And we also need to lock in like a time limit that says, okay, if the county's going to make these repairs, then you need to be available as a facility for voters for 7 years or 8 years.
So our hope was just with election day a little over 2 months away, was to be able to get in and be able to just speed up the process and not have to wait 2 weeks for Commissioners Court meeting to get approval. STV, which is formerly CPNY, they've been doing ADA accessibility checks, and then they will be working on drawing up plans and revisions for what needs to happen at each site. So we're just trying to find a way to kind of streamline the process and be able to get these sites compliant and where we can use them on election day.
Do we have any kind of idea of, so you threw out a figure of 5,000. Does that seem to be what might work, or are we looking at 8,000 to 10,000 maybe? Because that, to me, it's gonna have the price is where the breaking point's gonna come.
I think, Commissioner, probably with inflation and everything else, probably the 10,000 amount is closer to what we would need, but I doubt any of them will crest close to that.
Well, shouldn't
But
we,
you never know.
shouldn't we do an aggregate amount? And we're not talking about per site. If we have 12 sites at X number of dollars, then that total, because one site may require less, one site may require more, as long as we stay under that aggregate total, Jared?
That's up to y'all. My thought would be like a total amount per site kind of thing. It's like, okay, per site will go up to $10,000. And, if it's going to be more than that, then we need to look elsewhere kind of thing.
I'm a
Okay.
little hesitant at the $10,000.
Yeah, 120 grand for.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant of that, being, I don't want to take over somebody's ADA needs.
Approximately, and I do understand the need to have kind of authorization prior to, so we don't hold up you finalizing sites, but approximately how many sites do you think, or let me ask it better, how many sites do we have that are already confirmed that don't need this, and then how many sites are we looking at that might need ADA adjustments?
So before we ever make a site an official polling site, we always do an ADA compliant assessment. So all of our current sites have already gone through this process. We shouldn't need anything from a past site unless there's something that's changed that we're not aware of. But right now, we're just looking at the potential future sites, the 12 potential future sites.
That's what
And
I'm
the reason
referring
is,
to.
of course,
That's what I'm referring to. Out of the
Okay,
12
just make
new
sure.
sites, how many do you have that are already confirmed and they don't need any adjustments? And then how many do you have that you're expecting you may need to do some modifications to?
It wouldn't surprise me if all of them do. So we've scheduled 9 ADA assessments. 5 of them have been completed so far, and all 5 of them needed some kind of work done to them. I expect to get the next 4 in as soon as possible. I know I believe he was working on them last week, so it wouldn't surprise me if I start getting these reports in sometime this week, early this week, and we'll see what they found. You know, one of the sites is it's the 25th Street Fire Station. I'm hopeful that that one won't need anything. If anything, it might be minimal work, such as like a door pressure needing to be changed, which is pretty simple. We're also looking at Baylor, their new welcome center. I'm hopeful that that one's going to be ADA compliant. But you know, the rest of them, I'm trying my best to, you know, look at sites that look like, you know, work's been done here. It should be close to be ADA compliant. That way we can try to minimize these fees as much as possible, or any repairs as much as possible.
Do you have maybe a preliminary list that you can send out that shows
Sure.
us the anticipated 12 sites?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. There's I'm still finalizing. I have one for sure in Perry's district. I'm still trying to get 2 more out in Commissioner Ford's district. They've been the one that's been the district that's been the hardest to find sites. But yeah, I can send out a list to y'all as far as what we've looked at and who we've talked to.
Okay.
I think one of the challenges is some of these entities say, yeah, you can use it, but we're not gonna spend any money.
Yeah.
We don't need this
exactly
ADA improvement, so that's kind of the challenge, and we've got a deadline to get it done, so.
That's exactly right. And you know, it's not only is it the right thing to do, but it is the law also. I know the county, I believe it was about 10 years ago or so, was under investigation by the Department of Justice to try to get sites in compliance.
Yeah.
And I wasn't here at that time. I do know it was an ordeal, and that's why I don't want us to have to go through that again. I've talked to other counties as well that are having to go through a similar situation that we are. I know Hayes County, she was telling me that they were recently visited by Department of Justice, and so was Travis County, you know, to make sure that these sites are compliant. So it is a serious issue. We do want to try to get this as close as possible and get it correct.
Only reason, Jared, I mentioned the aggregate amount, because if we set a maximum on one site, and let's say it's $5,000 on one site, and all of a sudden you end up with 5,200, that means you're having to come back to us again. Whereas if you've got that aggregate amount and one site only took $500, then you've got money you're flexible in where you can put that money.
Sure.
And maybe,
I'm
but
fine with that.
I'm agreeable to either one, ever what it takes to get it done.
Yeah.
So,
Same here, and that's where I just want to get you know, make sure we get this taken care of and get it done right.
yeah.
And then, as you said, entities that we're doing this service for, pay for part of this under their agreement, is that correct?
Under the agreement that we had, it was, we're going to pay for this, but you have to make this site available to us for X amount of years, because, you know, it is coming out of taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
And they can't just, you know, turn around next year and say, oh, no, we're not going to be a vote center anymore.
I guess what I was saying is, if we're doing an election and one of the things on the ballot's a school board, then they pay
Yeah.
for part
Oh,
of
I
it.
see what you mean.
Yeah.
So what I was mentioning earlier with the mobile data devices, they do share that cost, and they do share a cost overall for the election, and that you know, so some of that money does come back to the county whenever they contract with us.
Okay.
But that's for running their election. It wouldn't necessarily be for this specifically.
I know it's been a scramble trying to find enough to meet the law, you know, and
Yes,
that's our challenge.
absolutely.
Where will we get this from, Francis?
So, Jared, I know you have some in other services and charges in your department.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I think there's about 44,000 budgeted there.
Okay.
So probably this would be the best place for something like this. You know, other than that, it's not specifically budgeted for. So it's something that if it did exceed, you know, or get closer to one of these higher numbers like he was speaking of, we would have to use contingencies or or find a line item that we know we'd have excess.
So if the motion today was to spend a maximum of 44,000, that would get us going, and if we saw later on it was gonna require more, then
Well-
we could move money from contingency?
Well, you know, he has, that line that he has budgeted for other services and charges does include other things that come up during the
Right,
year.
so, yeah, we'd
I was
drain
just
that.
saying, you know, there may be some funds there, but,
But timing's the issue, so if we set 44 as a limit, and without coming back to court, then it has to be on another court agenda, and I don't know, is that gonna be a deadline issue?
I mean, we have to have this by November 7th, so, and really needs to be before that, because
We don't even
that's
have,
when the election is.
I don't see.
I could, go
Yeah.
ahead. I could support 60,000, that'd be 5,000 times 12, it'd be $60,000 per site, or aggregate amount, to repair, and hopefully that would be more than enough or take care of it. That's my opinion, so that's 5,000 times 12 sites would be $60,000.
I'm just trying to think,
Sure.
because your method makes sense, but if it comes up short, we gotta come back to the court anyway, which is, I think, is what we're trying to keep from having to do, is to come back.
that's why we kinda have the cart before the horse, but we don't have any choice. And we don't have all the reports in on
Yeah.
the work.
I need to back up on something I said too. So I pulled up the adopted budget that'll start October 1st. We lowered that line item, so there's only 25,000 in other services and charges. I apologize.
That's in the general fund contingencies?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Okay, where's that 25,000?
So I was just looking at the elections department, and they have a
Elections.
line item, other services and charges.
Okay.
It's kinda one of those mandates, you know?
Yeah,
It is.
What it is.
It is an unfunded mandate, yes.
I want to ask you a question, Jared. Then what we are saying is that we have done our due diligence to ensure that there were no other alternative sites we could have used other than the 12 that we're going to do modifications to.
Are you saying, have we looked at only 12, or have we looked at more?
No, I'm saying, have we made sure that before we start making modifications for ADA to facilities, that there were not other alternative sites we could have used?
Oh, that is something that we are doing. I know I've contacted at least 25 sites already. And, as I stated the other day, some of them we knew, like, this just isn't going to work. We need to look elsewhere. And some of them, they've just flat out told me no. In fact, we had one church that was requiring a proof of liability insurance, and we gave it to them, and then they turned around and still told me no. The search it's ongoing, it's never ending, and it's always going to be hard.
We know that we know that most public facilities are already ADA compliant, Jared. and-
Well, they should be, but they're not necessarily.
Yeah, nobody's
we-
enforcing.
Yeah, some of them don't have a choice, like schools. And we've gotten away from looking at schools as because of the conflicts with everything, or where are we on that?
I've talked to a few schools. I'm trying to stick more with administrative buildings to keep it away from school, the students. That's been made pretty clear that the school districts aren't interested in us being there around their students, and completely understandably so.
Well, since COVID, that's pretty much it, yeah.
So one of the ones we're looking at and is scheduled to get an assessment done is La Vega ISD. It's their administration building. And that's away from students. Should be a good site. Should be ADA compliant.
Right.
There may be some minor changes that need to be made or minor adjustments. That's not unusual. We talked to Bosqueville ISD. They told us they don't have any room for us. So it is what it is. So.
Okay. Whatever.
And one more thing to add real quick is, I don't want to not have enough sites. If we don't have enough sites open, then the election could be contested. And that's why this is so important, is we've got to be in compliance with the election code. And, you know, it's unfortunate that the state's not going to help us out with this at all, but, you know, that's the cards we've been given.
It's not surprising.
Well, I mean,
How about-
this
sorry.
isn't
No.
like the most.
It's not the first time we've had to do something like this. So.
How about if we make a motion this morning, Jared, that would give the green light to move forward? And basically, you need to run it by Dustin and Judge to see if we think it's reasonable or not, but I don't.
In other words,
see
if
any-
one comes in really
If one comes in
high,
really high, you
Let's look
got to
rather-
look at it, and
Yeah.
maybe we have to come back for one of them. Or two of them, but you need a green light to get moving and get. these
Exactly.
lights ready.
Yeah, I think that's a very agreeable solution for the moment.
And I have some thoughts on the budget, but I'll discuss that with Jared after court today. So when we
Okay.
bring this back,
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, what's
And then if we could also just, in the motion, have a number of years that facility must be made available to be used as a vote center, and then we will include that in use agreements that will be brought
So
back.
what is that? What's your recommendation?
I think 8 years. Carver Park Baptist Church, we approved that in 2018, and they had to remain a vote center through December 31st, 2025. So I think 8 years there, and then we will bring those use agreements back for ratification or for recording, if that is okay.
So we could have some drop out because of that, but we would be criticized if we keep jumping around. If you can have vote centers that are stable, in other words, they're gonna be the same location every year.
Absolutely.
Cuts back on confusion and those things. So this is a
Completely
sensitive
agreed.
deal, you know.
Completely agreed. That is one of our goals, is to make these be, you know, a place that people know this is open and I can go vote there and I don't have to worry about it's been moved around. Obviously, situations change and we do have to move them occasionally, but I try my best to keep things as consistent as possible for that very reason.
Right.
But today, we're only talking about the 12 new sites. There's not a previous site that we need to look at. It's just the 12 new ones.
Correct. Yeah, and if something gets brought to our attention, then we can address that in the future. But as of now, we have done compliance assessments at our other sites as well.
So Dustin, again, kind of state what you're looking for in a motion so you can get that time frame in there as well.
Okay, I think it'd be a motion to move forward with the ADA repairs for future vote centers with approval of the county administrator and county judge, and then having a minimum number of years set at 8 that a facility must be made available for future use as a vote center.
So move.
Got a motion? Got a second? Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Pose? Pass. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. I'd like to go to items K2 regarding the bipartisan infrastructure law discussion and our action on funding guidelines and opportunities, eligible projects, programs, and related matters. Dustin, if you want to introduce.
Yes, sir, and I believe we have Georgina Ibarra online from TLC who's going to give us an update and talk about future grant opportunities. Georgina, can you hear us okay?
She's not on. All right, let's go back. Go back to the consent agenda items. And let's hit these pulled items, E3A, HR matter for Constable Precinct 4. So Anna?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
So the first item, yes, is E3A, request for Constable Precinct 4. Just a correction in the summary there in the agenda notes. It states Precinct 5. It is Precinct 4. It is requesting an approval to appoint and hire a full-time deputy constable position into new position number 1734. The position was posted to the public and accepted application for the required 5 days. The applicant chosen does meet the minimum requirements outlined in the job description, and the constable for Precinct 4 has ensured that the applicant meets the TQual standards. And so the request is to appoint and hire the applicant, Sherry Von Staden, as the full-time deputy, and they'd like that appointment be effective September 17th of this year.
All right, questions?
This is a currently funded position in the new budget, correct?
Yes, sir. This was added this past summer. So yes, it is currently funded.
Funded
and
in the new budget.
It can be filled as soon as the effective date requested, September 17th.
What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve. Second.
Have motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Pass. All right, next item.
The next item is E3B. This is a request from Constable Precinct 5. So Constable Precinct 5 is requesting an additional full-time deputy position. So this, they are requesting an additional funded budgeted position. A full-time deputy constable position. The recommended budget that would be in line with other deputy constable positions is $51,924. The request is to have this position effective the start of the upcoming fiscal year 2024, so that'd be October 1st, 2023. And the reason behind this request is work volume. The office is experiencing higher paper volume. When they say paper volume, that's papers received and higher than last year. Much of this activity consists of papers that require 2 deputies to deliver, including writ of possessions, which are evictions. So far this year, calendar year to date, they've had 78 writ of possessions. And in addition to that, they have identified the need to support Justice of the Peace Precinct 5 with consistently scheduled weekly bailiff functions. So the request, again, is justified by the amount of papers received so far this year and the volume worked by each existing officer, and then also the need to support the Justice of the Peace for Precinct 5 with bailiff functions. And then I have data that are included in the request that I can review, or I can take questions from the court.
Why
Why
just
now?
finish budget?
Yeah, why,
Why now?
that's my question.
So there's
So
a new.
there's,
Go ahead, Al, go ahead.
so this request actually came earlier this year. We attempted working with Constable Cantu earlier this year, but the office has experienced some recent transitions. So their longtime chief deputy retired. They had trouble filling their part-time position, and their clerk actually also, their longtime clerk also left. So this year they had to first focus on hiring and filling their positions, which didn't happen until July of this year is when they hired on a full-time chief deputy and a part-time deputy. And now kind of the dust is settled, and that's what's bringing forward the request, which was identified earlier this year, and this is just the first opportunity they're getting to.
I just
work.
struggle with planning like this.
I do too. If the need was there, we spent a whole summer up till last meeting preparing for the new budget year, and then to come to us after the budget's adopted. And I pretty well have been vocal about not interested in adding any new personnel for the new year. So it's disappointing to me and a little disturbing that we've gone this long, and this is the first
Yeah.
that I'm aware of.
And I'm not defending it at all whatsoever, but the difference is a change in personnel. When Gomez, the new guy comes in and does more in-depth analysis and sees the need, and got with Anna and just said, these numbers, here's what it says. And so, that's why it came late. There's different people. That last one wasn't
Right, but
interested. Yeah, I understand
My
what you're saying.
concern is that this becomes the norm, and
Yeah.
just say I don't
Yeah.
have to be ready at budget, because they'll do it for me right after they approve
Right.
the budget, and that.
Exactly, yeah.
I just want to interject one thing. I'm looking at the papers received chart that she did from 2018 through 2023. And I do remember back in 2017, I think it predates me on the court and it predates Francis as being county auditor. I think the county auditor back then was Stan. And Constable Cantu came to the court and he asked for an additional full-time deputy. His rationale back then was that if there were an occasion where the JP was doing truancy court, and yet he was having to do a writ of possession or an eviction, he didn't have the personnel. And so it was making the court kind of sluggish. It wasn't working as efficient. But at the time, I think there was an issue with paperwork and the numbers. And so the court said they're going to further study it. But he did come back. He did come prior to 2018 and ask for an additional deputy. And it looks like, when I look at the numbers, that Precinct 2 and Precinct 5 are pretty high on received. It looks like they take a dip around COVID, and it looks like they're back up trending. I'm sorry. I sound like Kermit the Frog. I'm sorry. But it does look like they may be on a trajectory back up. And I say that to say he has lost an experienced deputy with Deputy Gomez retiring, but he has hired a new full-time and he has that part-time. And so I just kind of wanted to know how constable offices work. So I talked to another department, and they shared with me that that is a legitimate concern. If you're doing evictions, but then you still need coverage at the JP court if you're doing truancy. And one thing about Precinct 5 is Waco ISD really utilizes them for truancy, and the JP seems to be picking that back up, as did Judge Villarreal. I know he came and talked to me prior to budget, but I didn't see a request in, and so I didn't want to mention it if he didn't send it. But I do see.
But doesn't that make you question how important was it?
I think we kind of got maybe a fell through the cracks kind of what happened to us with Judge Bain, and that is that we were working on paperwork and it just doesn't get to the court in time.
Right? If I recall, you guys said they presented.
Yeah, Judge Bain presented the first.
No, that's not what
first
I'm
day,
saying.
and then was able to modify his request by the end of
The deadline.
What I'm saying is, he did mention it, and it looks like his paperwork is coming in now. But the bottom line is, the work is not gonna stop on him. Because Judge Miramontes has no intention of not processing her evictions, and those are increasing. And what I've noticed, Precinct 2 and Precinct 5 have a high rate of evictions. A term that's not in her spreadsheet that was mentioned to me is papers attempted. And that is when you go out there, but the person wasn't there. So there's still more trips. So if you're spreading 2.5 people, where you really need 3.5 people, it's just gonna bog that court down. It's just gonna bog down the efficiency of that court. And I understand, and to an extent, I agree, because, that was my position with Judge Bain, is that at a certain point, you gotta cut stuff off. We have to be able to tie loose ends and not go back to issues we thought should have already been finalized. But on this one, the reason I just see it as an exception is he's been asking for a deputy since 2017, and he does show high-volume work. If we don't let him serve papers, he can't bring in the money, and we know our constables bring in, they bring in substantial revenue. So I would hate to handicap that department that's a revenue generator because we didn't approve a request that's really kind of minimal in regards to the revenue that it potentially could bring in. That's all I'm saying.
You know, I certainly support the work that they're doing, and I know that Judge Miramontes is, I mean, she's going after it hot and heavy. She really is, and working hard, and she deserves the security that she needs because she's spending a lot of time doing a lot of things. She really is. My only, and I'm not sold one way or the other on it right now, but my only concern was the timing. It just bothered me, the timing part, when we've spent so much time building our budget, and like Commissioner Perry said, and then where do we draw the line? I mean, how long are we gonna keep doing this? Every meeting, having somebody come in and add, wanting an additional personnel or something, when they had the opportunity to put it in the budget.
I'm wondering if is there another alternative, like having, we may not have the budget for it, but to have a server, you know, a third-party server, pick up some of it. But if there's not a budget for it, it's the same question, it's the same issue, so. Francis, were you gonna say
I
something?
just had a question. So the constable does have part-time pay budgeted, and is the intent to, does the request include keeping that part-time pay as well?
It does, Francis, I can speak to that.
I didn't know if
So
that was replacing.
Mhm. Right now, he has, including himself, 2 full-time and then a part-time. And the issue is when she's holding truancy courts and he has to serve papers, especially those papers that take 2 people to serve.
Thank you.
So say it again now, Commissioner, he has himself and
And a full-time
a full-time
and a part-time.
and a part-time. So this 2 includes him, this 2.4
Yes, sir.
includes him and one other full-time, and then a .4. What is a .4? How many,
That's part-time.
that's, what is that, 10 hours? What's .4?
it's 720 work hours for the year.
720 work hours for the year. I don't know how we got to a .4.
He was
Um,
thinking 0.5.
I was thinking more .5, yeah.
Or a half a
I don't know how you get to a
person.
.4, yeah. That's just,
Keep them
And
under.
I can speak to the
math.
part-time position as well. So that was another reason for the delay in submitting the request, was HR pressing for more information to ensure that there wasn't a need to, or there was a need to maintain the part-time position and not just replace it with the full-time position. And so the department spent some time actually outlining their bailiff schedule, working with the JP, mapping that out and balancing that with their papers, duties. And so again, HR gathering information, also adding to that delay, and they provided that information, the actual Excel spreadsheet of the scheduling for the JP support. And so viewing that along with the paper serves, that's what they came to the conclusion that yes, they need that part-time in addition to this requested.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of cut to the chase here. All right, it's my understanding HR has analyzed the numbers and supports the initiative. So really the question, unless somebody else doesn't buy in on what the support shows, but if that's
I don't
not
buy
the
in.
issue, it's the
I-
timing.
I don't buy into these. I don't
These
buy
numbers,
into the,
okay.
yeah. That's
So there is a
50%.
question on those as well. So we got
50%
two
less than
issues.
last.
Yeah, we got 2 issues here. Then one is the data supported. Do you agree as a court member? And the other one is the timing, a bigger issue that overrides that. And so unless there's some other important thing that we haven't talked about, we probably ought to move on. Any other?
what I understood HR just to say, though, was that the request was put in earlier, and the reason it's just now coming to us is because they required more information from them before they were willing to come to us with this request. Is that correct, HR?
Yes, sir.
And the reason you're here today is because you do support this request. You see the numbers.
Yes, sir. Based on the number served and the scheduling they've mapped out for JP support needs. Yes.
When did you guys ask for folks to have their budgets prepared and turned in?
early May.
Yeah.
Mid-May.
Yeah.
excuse
Early
me.
May.
Mid-May.
And they scattered out a little after that, but not much, and then they pretty much stopped, and then there were some modifications, like always when,
Yes.
but the main request was in, and and modifications were not significant generally, Bain was
I
one.
don't recall us even looking at it.
No, I don't.
So we're saying it was in, but we
Yeah.
never even looked at it.
No, that's right, and, it came to Anna late, so.
It never came to us, did it, Donna?
That's correct. It came to me and
It
it
came
had
in
not
your
been
office.
presented to the
Yeah.
court.
I do want to
Mr. Miller,
interject
go ahead.
this.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you. He lost his chief deputy, his full-time position retired, and then he lost his part-time. And in the conversation of him asking for an additional deputy, he was told, "We'll fill your vacant spots first." So I know he spent the spring and the early part of the summer filling his full-time position and his part-time position. He did that back in July. And I think and I don't want to speak for HR, but we still wanted to see, but is the work still there? Even with him running at full speed with his full-time person and his part-time person, is there still work there to warrant an additional person? So that may be why this information, again, is coming in late. But, and I'm like the judge, we need to move on. I hope our issue is not the data, because I give a lot of credence to HR, and I don't think she's just gonna throw numbers at us. If there is an issue, I would say timing is legitimate. But I hope we're not having an issue with HR's numbers.
So if, I think the number one issue is the timing, not let's get past the timing piece first. If we say that it just, in the court's opinion, the majority of the court's opinion, it didn't get in on time, therefore it's denied, let's deal with it that way. And then if it's back to let's go back and look at the numbers, we can do that. But there's no need in going back through all of that if we're gonna turn it down. So that's, I guess that's where we are, so.
I'm leaning truthfully towards supporting it because of a safety issue. Safety at the JP court, and the need to have the two people serving a lot of these papers. I'm still disappointed that we didn't know anything about it till today, or till we got the agenda and the backup. That's the most disappointing thing to me. Had we this summer been told, hey, this might happen, I'd feel better about it. But safety-wise, I always want to err on the side of safety. So there you go.
All right.
Well, I just speak from an advantage of keeping up with Constable Cantu and being in contact with him. And I guess that's why sometimes we have created the word exception. But my hope would be that we would support this because there is such an extreme need. He asked for it back in 2017, but he didn't have any data to kind of push it where the court could make a substantial, make a decision based on information. So looking at what they've been able to pull together and seeing his work span over the years and seeing where it's projected to go, I would just like to urge the court to approve this exception.
My only comment to that is we so often make these bold statements and then we don't follow up.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the issue that I have.
You're right.
If he hadn't came in 2017 and I wasn't looking at numbers at 2894
That's
and
6 years ago.
2456, and then seeing it come back up, if we have a department that is potentially able to bring in more revenue if we give him more resources. But I do understand and respect your position.
Okay, floor is open for a motion.
I would move to accept the recommendation from the HR department and approve the additional deputy for Constable Precinct 5.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, call for a vote.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Miller,
Aye.
Judge Felton,
No?
Commissioner Jones.
No.
Commissioner Perry.
Opposed?
All right, motion fails. All right, Dustin?
Yes, sir. So the other pool was item E4B, authorization of publication for RFP 23-016, Microsoft Office 365 mitigation. That's just a typo. It should be migration. We just wanted to point that out. Since this is just for authorizing the publication, I think it's enough to put the public on notice that there's going to be a publication regarding this RFP for Microsoft Office 365. So just wanted to point that out, that that should say migration rather than mitigation.
All right. Okay,
Big difference in words.
Yeah.
so, so we just need to approve that change?
Yes, sir. Just,
I make
just
a motion. I make a motion, we approve the recommended change in wording.
Second.
Judge, I'm sorry, Judge. Technically, it would just be we can't change the wording. We just need a motion to authorize the publication. And we will note that in the minutes that it should have stated migration.
So move. Second?
Second. And I'm looking at the RFP in the agenda, in the packet, it says migration.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, we can move on to item F, budget amendments, F1s regarding the FY23 budget. Francis?
So starting out, we do need to defer F1A.
All right, I'll make a motion to defer.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Okay, so moving on, so F1B. F1B is in the general fund. This is for the Heart of Texas Fairgrounds. This is to increase the repair and maintenance line for work to be done on the chiller water pump by Lockridge Priest, and the quote is attached. F1C, this is general fund for the 414th District Court. They are requesting to move within their department into supplies to cover postage and miscellaneous office supplies for the remainder of the year. F1D1, this is for Gel Medical and Jack Harwell Medical. So the request is to increase the line item for medical services, so that has exceeded the budget previously presented, and also increasing the 2 line items for management services. And so the management company, of course, changed last month, and so those were the increase in costs for the remainder of the year. They are able to move from the full-time employees lines in both of those departments.
And so that covers the current budget year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Through September 30th. And then F1D2, this is Gel and Jack Harwell. The request is to increase other services and charges, outsourced prisoner transport in both of those departments. They are, a portion of this is to cover the RCI recruiting services that was approved on one of the last agendas. And then, of course, an increase in outsourced prisoner transport cost or the need for that line item. And they also are able to move from full-time employees in those departments to cover the cost. And then F1D3, this is for the sheriff's office, requesting to increase professional development by moving from the part-time pay line, again, just to cover costs for the remainder of the year. F1E, this is in the records management fund for the county clerk. He is requesting to move from contingencies into supplies in that special revenue fund. And the need for the increase there in that line item was because they purchased additional plat sleeves earlier in the year. F1, this is general fund for the 474th District Court. He is requesting to increase supplies and furniture and equipment. And the supplies is specifically toner, office supplies, and then furniture and equipment is an office chair for the judge. He is able to move from other line items within that department. And then F1F2, this is in the court reporter service fund. So So this is a request for a laptop that the court reporter in the 474th will utilize. Again, in that special revenue fund, moving from contingencies into the furniture and equipment line. F1G, this is general fund, county court at law. They are needing to increase their repair and maintenance line for their CTWP charges for the year and any additional costs they may have before the month runs out. And then F1H, similar request. This is for county court at law 2, also for their CTWP charges for the year. F1I, this is general fund for the county judge's office, just requesting to move within that department into supplies to cover subscriptions, West Group charges, and office supplies for the remainder of the year. F1J, this is a large budget amendment that cleans up the incentive pay amounts that were paid out. I know there's a lot on these 2 pages, but to sum it up, the cost of incentive pay with taxes and benefits came to $523,464. So we were able to move from full-time employee line items where there were excesses in order to fund this cost for the year.
Was this the estimated cost that was given to us, this total right here?
Are you in the notes?
I'm not in notes, no, I'm just in F1J on the agenda. That 958,362, was that was what?
That's the total amount of the budget amendment. We move to the countywide line and then spread it to departments. So the actual total of the budget amendment is much higher than the actual cost. It's just because we're moving from line to back to other lines. But the actual total cost is the $523,464. F1K, this is general fund for countywide road and bridge. This is to increase the professional services line. So we're moving from the right-of-way purchase line into the professional services line for cost related to 7 Mile Lane and North Crooked Creek and Tonk Creek. F1L, this is general fund for the district attorney. Requesting to move within that department into professional development to cover conference cost for the remainder of the year. F1M, this is general fund contracted programs. This is a request to increase the line item for our emergency management, the portion we fund with the city of Waco. Earlier in the summer, the previous director left her position, and so there was a payout of the leave time that she had accrued per City of Waco personnel guidelines. So this would cover half of that cost. Of course, this was not in their original budget that they presented the summer before last. And so if you're agreeable to that, it would increase that line that we're funding by $14,890.
So when the, with our contracted services, let's say with the city, when they give us their budget, that budget doesn't include liabilities from leave, accrued leave, or anything like that we could be.
No, if they don't know that someone's going to be leaving. I know there's other costs, just being emergency management. Hopefully there would not be, an emergency, but, those costs could escalate during the year without them having budgeted them, and we would bring those forward to you at that time.
But the contract does state that we pay half the salary, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see a way around that.
So F1N1, so these next 3 are all regarding the 2021 bond proceeds. So F1N1 is regarding 415 Columbus. This is for the demo package for that piece of property. And this is electrical work that will be done by Bowen Electric to move and yes, and get the electricity going for that site. There's an item G6 that also goes with this budget amendment that TJ will be speaking on here in just a bit.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I'll ask TJ my question then.
And then F1N2, this is for ADA modifications, specifically to the Road and Bridge 2 building. And this is, of course, just coming from contingencies within that bond proceed fund. And then F1N3, in that same fund, the line item for the Road and Bridge 3 tower, needing to increase that by a small amount for the attached quote. F10, this is General Fund Health Services Department. They're requesting to move within that department into supplies and travel reimbursement to cover cost for the remainder of the year. F1P, this is General Fund JP Precinct 1. And they are requesting to move from contingencies, that $219, for additional language translation invoices that have come about. F1Q, this is General Fund JP2. They are requesting to increase other services and charges by moving within their department. And F1R, this is General Fund Jury Service Department. The request is to move from the juror pay line into juror meals and lodging for the remainder of the year. F1S, this is General Fund for the Mental Health Court Department. So there is a need to increase the line items for court masters, court cost, and the court-appointed attorneys, specifically for mental cases. Then F1T, General Fund, Maintenance of Buildings, requesting to increase within that department professional development. F1U, General Fund, Road and Bridge 2, requesting to increase within that department supplies, the fuel line, and utilities for the year. And then F1W, I'm gonna skip over F1V. We need to defer F1V.
Which one?
F1V.
V?
V, yes, sir.
All right, is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
And then F1W is a certification of revenue for interlocal agreements with the City of Bruceville Eddy and Lorena ISD. So we are certifying that amount and then setting up a budget to match it, which is attached. So Road and Bridge 1 is requesting to increase road construction materials by that same amount, $38,975. I believe that is all, so.
That's, okay, so, all right, let me see how to state this. With the exception of two deferred items, which is F1A and F1B, is there a motion to approve all the other 2023 budget transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you. All right.
Right, F2 is regarding the FY24 budget.
F2A is the recording of the forfeiture fund budget for the county sheriff. So that's just presented to you for recording. It looks a little different than the past, but we've separated it between state and federal, as there's different guidelines for expenditures, as well as reporting. So, but that'll show you their intent at this time for those funds. F2B, this is a listing of allowances for 2024. So we have it, these are all included in the budget for next year, but just wanted the detail recorded in the minutes and approved. So it includes uniform allowances, tool allowances, cell phone allowances, and then our bilingual pay and K-9 supplement. I'm sorry, I should have stopped if F2. Do you want me to go through all of them and?
Well,
I should
yeah.
have stopped after F2A.
No, go ahead and.
Okay.
We can do them like we did the other.
Okay.
Any exceptions, I'll call them out.
Yes, sir. And then F2C is the forfeiture fund budget for the DA for recording purposes. So you'll see that there on a category basis. And so we're going to defer F2D today. So if you want to.
F2D.
So if you want to approve F2A, B, and C.
All right, is there a motion to approve F2A, B, and C?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
And then defer F2D.
All right, is there a motion to defer F2D?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed. All right, Dustin?
All right, moving on to item G, bids, RFPs, RFQs. G1 is authorization of video surveillance system quote from Extraco Technology for Justice of the Peace Precinct 3, and I believe this needs to be deferred again.
All right, is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion, second to defer, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passed.
G2 is authorization of proposal from Lockridge Priest for condensing unit replacement at Heart of Texas Fairgrounds Extraco Event Center, and I believe this needs to be pulled with no action. Is that right,
Right.
CJ?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, pull with no
All right.
action.
Moving on to item G3, authorization of recommendations. G3A is regarding RFP 23-017, McLennan County Courthouse Hardware Door Replacement. Ken?
Before I read our recommendation, I need to share that we had a pre-bid walk through the courthouse for this bid. We had quite a turnout for our pre-bid, but in the response, we only got one response back for this project with Key Depot out of, I'm sorry, I didn't. I usually, they're not local. I think they were out of Round Rock.
New Braunfels?
Oh, New Brunswick. I was missing it. I'm
Oh.
sorry. Anyway, in the amount of $132,632. This was actually fairly close to the estimate we had from STV for the project. So we recommend that we grant and we had TJ go over the response. So we would like to recommend to the Commissioners Court, grant the award for the McLennan County Courthouse Hardware and Doors Replacement to KDW Enterprise Williams and Posey LLC, doing business as the Key Depot, in the amount of the $132,632.
Okay, any questions? I hate getting just one bid.
Yes, sir. And again, it's up to you. If we want to reject all, we can go back out for bid.
I guess my question, Ken, would be, why are we replacing the doors and hardware? Is this a recommendation? Is this
It's the
ADA?
It's the ADA.
So it was part of the ADA renovations over here?
Yes, and it's actually been kind of in the works for a long, long time, and we're just now kind of got a bid pulled together to make this happen.
2014 Department of Justice review of ADA compliance issues, which we,
And so it's not just the hardware, we're needing to replace actual doors?
I'm sorry, it's, the doors is in there for the hardware, door hardware.
Just hardware?
Yes.
Okay. That makes a little bit more sense.
Yes, sir.
I thought we were having to replace the doors.
No, sir.
so, like I said, I mean, my only issue is the fact it's just one bid, and we could reject all, or we could take this bid. And I don't know enough about how, I know doorknobs cost a lot of money. And, all those either pulls, actually, replaces those ones.
Does it replace like those, I mean, that's a decorative type.
It is.
And, sort of historic.
Absolutely.
We're talking about like panic bars on doors?
No, that's door handle right there on that door.
That door handle right, there's not a door handle.
On the other side,
On the other
there's a door
side.
handle on there. It's square, like that long. It's got, looks like,
It's decorative, right, it's been here forever.
yeah.
Judge, if I may, so that the ADA project doesn't specifically call out the door pulls because most of them, they meet the ADA function. They may have to be relocated a little bit. So this project really consists of all the office areas off of the corridors.
Okay.
That have the round knobs. All of those have to be switched out to levers, of course, to meet ADA. And then, of course, we'll have to go through and replace the majority of the door closures just because of the poundage requirements on them. So we're really looking at locking mechanisms and door closures and then modifications to the existing doors to make the new hardware work. So it's a very cumbersome project. There's going to be a lot involved with it, and it's going to take quite a bit of time to get it done. It's just real labor intensive.
Okay,
So
I
that's,
stand
that's
corrected.
kind of what it consists of.
Yeah.
Quite a few of the people that attended were local companies, and apparently they just didn't want to do it. Because it will be cumbersome and labor intensive.
But in doing it while we, and not disruptive to,
Well, that's part of it. If there's a trial going on in an area where they've been working, they're gonna have to go someplace else.
Kind of like people tearing down walls while court session's going on?
Pretty much like that.
Okay.
okay. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? Other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed.
G3B is regarding bid 23-019, hot and cold mix, laid asphaltic concrete, high performance asphalt, asphaltic oil sand, and limestone rock asphalt for pickup and delivery. Ken?
Always hate these because they're rather long. We received responses from Brian and Brian Asphalt, Knife River, Texas Material Group, Unique Paving Materials, Vulcan Materials Company in Waller County. I'll go ahead and kind of read off our recommendation or some pricing on the cold mix asphalt CC. We received bids from Vulcan. They bid the limestone rock, Unique. And anyway, Vulcan Materials picked up on our trucks is $68 per ton. Delivery is $137.69 per ton. From Unique Paving, loaded on our trucks is $118 per ton. Delivery is $160.64 per ton. On hot mix asphalt type D, Texas Material loaded on our trucks was $77 per ton. Delivery is $95.35 per ton. Knife River is loaded on our vehicles is $90 per ton. Delivered is $110 per ton. On cold mix asphalt type F, Waller County was the only bid and loaded, picked up on our trucks is $105 per ton. Delivery is $160.10 per ton. On cold high performance asphalt, Knife River loaded on our trucks is $135 per ton. Delivery is $155 per ton. Waller County loaded on our trucks is $110 per ton. Delivered is $165.10 per ton. Brian bid on the asphaltic oil sand and only for pickup on our trucks at $68 per ton. And then limestone rock asphalt type AA, Vulcan Materials bid picked up on our trucks $66 per ton, delivered $135.69 per ton. And limestone rock asphalt type D, Vulcan Materials loaded on our trucks is $68 per ton and delivered $137.69 per ton. It is recommended that McLennan County Commissioners Court grant the award for the road materials to all vendors based on location and availability. This recommendation is in accordance with Texas Local Government Code 262.027. If approved by the court, this contract will run from October 1, 2023 through September 30th, 2024.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Ken? All right, now is there a motion to approve his recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
G4 is authorization of bid RFP renewals. G4A is regarding RFP 19-025, McLennan County Pauper Burial, Cremation Services, Lakeshore Funeral Home, and Crematory. Ken?
Yes, we've checked with Heather Travers in regard to this contract, and she's in agreement for a renewal. We sent a letter to Lakeshore that they are willing to renew this agreement for another year, but they're asking for a 2% increase to the current contract. If approved by the court, the agreement will be in effect from October 2023 through September 30th, 2024. This is the last renewal, I believe, on this agreement.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? Like a reasonable increase.
I like that, yeah, absolutely.
All right. What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
G4B regarding bid 19-026 inmate clothing with the Bob Barker Company. Ken?
Again, this is a renewal to our current contract. The original agreement was from October 1, 2019 to September 30th, 2020. We sent a letter to Bob Barker. They said they're willing to renew this agreement with no price increases for this next year. We consulted with David Ives in regard to renewing the contract, and he was pleased with the service and goods provided. If approved by the court, this agreement again will be renewed from October 1, 2023 through September 30th of 2024. Again, I believe this is last year, our last renewal on this agreement.
Okay, any questions? All right, is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
G4C regarding bid 21-019 inmate personal items with ICS Gel Supplies Incorporated. Ken?
Again, we consulted with the Sheriff's Department and with sent a letter to ICS. They're willing to renew another year at a 3.13% increase. That's kind of on the average on everything over last year's increase. And if approved by the court, this agreement will be from 10/1/2023 through 9/30/2024.
All right. Any questions? All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
All right, moving down to item G6, authorization of electrical work proposal with Bowen Electric for 415 Columbus Avenue. TJ?
Yes, so this was the bid that just came through on the budget items. So basically, we got two facets to this project. We've got one facet being providing electrical to our vacant lot once the building is removed, and then the other facet is redelivering power to the McCullum House, which comes across our property. So some of you may recall the power line comes straight across the middle of our property, and there's a power pole next to our building. So in order to take the building down and relocate the power, we need to provide power back to the McCullum House. So this is what this does for us.
Okay, any questions?
TJ, a couple questions.
Yes,
First of all, if all we're gonna do is turn that into a parking lot, why do we need power there?
Well, some future talks, Commissioner, as it relates to the project within the downtown jail, we're probably going to need to set some temporary buildings there to house those office folks that are in that facility.
Okay.
So we're just making plans for the future
Okay.
with the power that we're putting in.
Okay, it makes sense. And then with McCullough House, are we providing back exactly what they have now? I noticed that we're installing conductors, installing a 20 amp, 30 amp circuit, all of that. I mean, all we're doing is replacing what's currently there.
That's correct. We're having to come in on the backside of the property. We're coming in underground just due to some of the large trees that are there. We don't want to disrupt any of the roots or cause any harm to those trees. So we are going to come in underground to the property and then back over to their existing breaker panel. So we will have to, provide a new meter box on the pole and all that good stuff.
Right, okay, all right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, TJ was instructed, do not make the historic homes people mad.
Good advice.
No, sir.
So anyhow, all right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve, this request?
Move to approve G6.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed.
Right, under item H, contracts interlocal agreements. H1 is authorization of contracts for software with EDOC Technologies. H1A is regarding the district clerk case management software. This one will need to be deferred again.
All right, is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
All right, that motion.
Second.
Second, all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed.
I believe we can then take B, C, and D together. H1B is regarding justice court case management software. H1C is regarding district attorney case management, and H1D is regarding county clerk case management. John Carter?
Morning.
None.
So these are just renewals for EDOC, the renewals of contracts we already have, and they go for 1 year from 10/1/23 to 9/30/24. They're recommended for approval and represent, most of them, I think they're the same amounts. For the, on H1B for the Justice Court, those are the exact same amounts as the previous year. For the district attorney, that one increased $3,000, just under $3,000, $2,600, sorry, dollars. And for the county clerk, that one went down $500. Otherwise, they're recommended for approval.
All right. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the recommendation.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed. Thank you.
All right, this next group, we have several annual contracts, and if it's all right with the court, I'll just read through those. And
Yes, sir.
money is included in the FY24 budget for these as well. So H2 is authorization of contract for services with the Cove Heart of Texas Incorporated. This funding totals $47,500. H3 is on authorization of contract for services with Creative Waco. It totals $55,000. H4 is authorization of provision of library services agreements with Hewitt Community Library, McGinley Memorial Library, Moody Community Library, Nancy Nell Memorial Library, and West Public Library. These libraries will receive $10,000 each from the county. H5 is authorization of contract for services with Greater Waco Sports Commission. That funding totals $120,000. H6 is authorization of spay neuter services contract with Animal Birth Control Clinic. Funding totals $102,680. H7 is authorization of renewal of service agreement with Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children. Funding totals $15,000. H8 is authorization of interlocal cooperation agreement with the City of Waco for litter control services at the city landfill and for law enforcement services. This provides 4 deputies that the city pays all salary and fringe benefits for. H9 is authorization of services agreement with McLennan Community Investment Fund, and that funding totals $100,000. And that's all those annual contracts together.
Okay, any questions? All right, none, is there a motion to approve, H2, wait, yeah, H2 through, H9.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed.
H10 is regarding the health services agreement with Turnkey Health Clinics, recording a business associate agreement for medical and health services for McLennan County Jails and Detention Center. Back in July, we approved the agreement with Turnkey for the medical and health services at the jail. As part of that, a business associate agreement was to be approved, and so we finally got that completed. We just need a motion to accept this BAA for recording purposes.
All right. Is there a motion to approve for recording purposes?
So moved.
Second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passed.
H11, authorization of agreement for information technology support services with the McLennan County Community Supervision and Corrections Department. John, did you want to cover this?
Yes, this is just a renewal of the yearly agreement. I'm not sure exactly how many years it's gone on, but it's just a renewal from 9/1/23 to 8/31/24. I believe it's the exact same amount as well, and it is recommended for approval.
All right, is there any questions for John? If not, is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved. Second?
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H12 is ratification of organized crime drug enforcement task force agreement with McLennan County Sheriff's Office. And this is an agreement between the DEA Waco resident office and the sheriff's office, and it is recommended for approval, or for ratification, I'm sorry.
All right, any questions? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H13, authorization of agreement for inmate detention services with Orange County. David?
How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Orange County has asked us to enter into this agreement with them again. This is for emergency housing services if they were to experience a disaster. There is one correction that needs to be made to the amendment. The per diem rate on the contract submitted to court is $55 per day, and that is going to be amended to $84.12 per day, our standard
Good.
rate prior to being signed by the court, and then it will be sent off to them for approval as well. They're already aware of this change.
Okay, good, that was a question I had. So, all right, any other questions anyone have?
I'm glad you made that amendment, David. I was worried that the 55 a day says provides a location for housing. We weren't going to feed them, so I'm glad to know that that includes food. Yeah.
All right. If no other questions, is there a motion to approve?
Second?
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H14 is regarding the subscriber agreement with TransUnion Risk and Alternative Data Solutions, authorization of pricing supplement and pricing sheet for data collection services for JP Port Collections. We approved this first back in 2020, and this is just a renewal, but the price does increase from $125 a month to $140 a month. But this has provided, it's beneficial service for Donna Kirkland, who's in doing those JP collection duties now, so we recommend it be approved.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H15, authorization of statement of work agreement with Civic Plus for website accessibility remediation service renewal. John?
Hello again. This is actually a renewal, but they require a signed statement of work. This helps us with our ADA compliance on our website. As you know, it's gotten us from a score of 94 to 97, so we definitely need this, and it is recommended for approval.
All right, any questions? Not, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a
Second.
second? I have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H16, authorization of renewal and extension agreement for professional services with Justice Benefits Incorporated. JBI helps us with the SCAP, the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program grant, and then with the Title IV Legal and Child Welfare Services grant. And they are compensated with a percentage of all revenue paid to the county under those programs. And Francis, I believe you're in agreement that we need to continue this for another year.
Yes, sir.
All right,
So the recommendation is to approve the agreement.
all right, is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No
I have a
other-
quick question
Yeah, go ahead.
regarding the, there's the rural law enforcement grant created by SB 22. Dustin, are you aware of that? Well,
Yes, sir.
will they help in that grant also too, or do you know, have you?
No, that'll be one that when the comptroller puts the rules out,
Right.
we'll review and with assistance of Francis, but JBI should not be involved with that one.
Okay.
It'll just be one that we bring to you, you set up a budget, you know, how you want to spend it, and we'll treat it like just a
Okay.
normal grant.
Great.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, I think we had a motion and a second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
H17 is authorization of agreement and related proposal with Childress Engineering Services for roof assembly replacement and new installation process consulting services for Highway 6 jail. TJ?
Yes, so this is an agreement with Childress Engineering Services to go through the jail facility. They're going to put together a scope of work for us, a bid package, and some construction documents related to the roof replacement. So we've reviewed this. Everything looks great. We're excited to get this one started. We recommend it for approval.
All right, any questions?
This group's out of Austin. TJ, we found no one local
That was my question.
who could provide the same service.
No, sir. As far as roofing consultants in the Waco area, there just aren't any to choose from.
And what happens is roofing people would come in and do a consulting job, but then they couldn't bid on it. So having someone from away, that allows everyone that can bid on this project the ability to bid on it.
Right.
So we're just being cautious, careful.
Well, when I see travel expenses, it always gets my attention, so.
I understand.
They've got 3 site visits listed down here at $6,300. Does that include, is that travel expenses, or is it gonna be 3 site visits plus travel expenses? Because it's already got 3 site visits at $6,300, but then it says, and that adds up, I think, to the $22,750, but then you've got an additional plus travel expenses.
I think the travel expenses will be above and beyond. That'll be additional services if required. So the 3 visits I could see being their first analysis, then 1 for the bid package and the bid walk when we do that, and then 1 during construction services to make sure everything's okay. So I think, if we have to call them back out for any additional support during the time frame, that's where that travel expense would come in.
Any questions? So if required is the key thing. All right. I'll make a motion we approve. Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
H18 is authorization of data facilitation agreement with Global Telink Corporation doing business as Viapath Technologies and LEO Technologies LLC for Ferris System with the McLennan County Sheriff's Office. David?
Yes, this is an agreement for a law enforcement tool that some of our CIU unit is going to use. And this is going to be paid for by the tag for the first 2 years. And that will give us the time to evaluate it to see if we want to carry that on in the future.
All right. Any questions? Not any questions. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve the agreement with McLennan County Community Supervision and Corrections Department.
Second.
All right. I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. All right, fixing to get into capital improvements, but before we do that, let's take a 5-minute recess.
What, you need the old school coaches around for that. They can break you that real quick.
Recording in progress.
Let's call court back in session. Okay, Dustin, I think we've got to go back and do H18, 18, the way I understand it.
Yes, sir. So, and sorry, that wrong section was listed in the notes with that motion suggested language. So we need to go back to H18. So it's a authorization of the agreement with GTL doing business as Viapath and LEO Technologies rather than with CSCD. So Commissioner Smith had made that motion and Commissioner Perry had seconded it.
All right.
So if we could just amend those motions,
Yeah.
that would be good.
So, Commissioner?
I would amend my motion to the, to what was stated.
I'll amend the second.
All right, their amendments are noted. Any questions?
So I don't see H18 in the updated bookmark.
Commissioner, there was some confidential info included with it, and we were still sorting through that last week. But that's the reason on it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve those changes through amendments?
So move.
No, well, I guess.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, we don't have that.
What did that, didn't we?
Yeah.
I move to approve my.
You've already
I did
Yeah.
that, didn't I?
Okay, let's call for a vote.
Not gonna say the question.
All right, call for a question. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
All right, we can go on to item M3. This is Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce Monthly Economic Development Reports for July 2023. Chris?
Hi,
Good
Chris.
morning,
Morning.
everyone. Good morning. Hope everybody had a nice holiday weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have in your packet our July 2023 report. Just letting you know where we are with things. Our attraction inquiries are down a little bit in comparison to last year, but I would, by comparison, if you look at the number of on-site attraction visits that we've had for the year, we're at 115% of our goal for the year. So while we haven't had as much going out the door, we are having a lot of boots on the ground of people here looking at McLennan County as an opportunity. I've just mentioned too, in our business retention expansion program is pretty close in meeting its goal for the year. It's on track for that. Our business retention director has been out on maternity leave for the past few months. She's returning to the office tomorrow, so we're glad to have her back. But in the meantime, we've had staff filling in, and so thank y'all for those that have been able to join on those visits. It is really important, and those businesses certainly do value having you there, and knowing that they're valued within our community. Overall, when you look at the activity that's happened year to date and what our pipeline looks like, we have, I'd say, 30 projects that are at various levels. Collectively, those represent about $5 billion worth of new capital investment and 3.3 million square feet of real estate, all of which would be new development if it came to fruition, and just under 2,000 new jobs. When you boil that down to the most active projects that we're working on, say that there's a good dozen that are in high activity right now, at various stages. But we know that year to date, we've had a very successful year so far. We've broken our record, our all-time record of level of investment that we've seen in a single year, and we're certainly not done for 2023. We have a lot of, we're close on a couple of things and hope to be able to make some announcements in the very near future. When you look at the level of jobs, we've exceeded our goal for the year, and we're just under where we'd like to be as far as, square footage. We've definitely exceeded that goal, but we'd like to be a little bit higher on that too. We've had a little bit more activity in that area, and we continue to have interest in the community related to existing space. So most of the development that we've seen over the last 24 months has been new construction. We would really like to see some speculative development in the marketplace to satisfy some continued requests that we're getting for companies wanting to come into the greater Waco region now and not having to wait. But that'll happen when it happens, and for now, we'll work with those companies to find whatever space we can for them. And then I would just note that we've just wrapped up the development of our latest magazine for the Chamber of Commerce that is specifically with workforce and talent. That'll be hitting the stands soon. And so we know that relates back exactly to the things that we've been talking about for months and months related to talent, the Industrial Training Center, business and education initiatives as well, to help bring the business community into the conversation about what does the workforce need to look like now and what does it need to look like in the future, so that we are investing wisely into the resources like the Industrial Training Center and other programs to help ensure that we have a strong workforce pipeline for the future. So,
All right, any questions?
any questions?
I did kind of look back at a email and then a news coverage of PSTC, state legislature gave them $200 million for capital, primarily expansion and all, and I think Waco's getting its share of that too. So we continue to strengthen our ability for technical training, certifications, and those kind of things, which is one of the lead features that Chris and her team rolls out to these industries coming in. That we not only can provide a good workforce, but a sustainable workforce too. So, all right, any questions for Chris? If not, is there a motion to approve Chris's report for recording purposes?
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Okay, Dustin.
All right, going back up to item I, capital improvement and construction projects. I-1s regarding McLennan County Downtown Jail remodel for courtrooms and office space. Agreement with Brinkley Sergeant Wigington, authorization of invoice number 10. This invoice totals $24,730.33, and it covers a portion of their schematic design services. And it's been reviewed and recommended for approval.
All right. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass.
I-2 regarding the 415 Columbus Avenue site demolition proposal with Walker Partners, authorization of engineering surveying services invoice for the month of July. Ken?
Yes, sir. Yes, they've submitted their July invoice for $2,600. Again, under the term final documents. We'll have a remaining balance of $4,600 after this invoice is paid.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve I-2.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Pass.
I-3 regarding the Trading Post Road Creek Crossing Improvements, construction agreement with Meckel Contracting, authorization of invoice number 1. Zane?
Yes, sir. This is the invoice for the low water crossing on Trading Post Road in Precinct 2. The invoice is for $330,899.28. The invoice has been reviewed and it's recommended for approval.
All right, any questions?
I have one. Do we know how close they are to being finished? Because, the school district is waiting on them to be done so they can get back to their normal bus route.
Right. I spoke with the school superintendent last week, and he was pleased to know that the project will finish by the end of this month, and I will be in contact with the contractor to try to see when, as soon as possible, that buses can start crossing the creek crossing there once the new concrete pavement gets in place. And so he was happy about that.
Okay, he hadn't been happy about too much. I'm glad he was happy with you. Because I know at one time we said that the project mid-September would be substantially complete. And I know by the contract, it has to be complete by September 29th. So we're not looking at mid-September for them being out of the way?
They should be. I mean, we've had dry weather and they're making good progress.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments? Not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass. Thank you, Zane.
Thank you.
All right.
I-4 regarding sliding door control mechanism replacement for Highway 6 jail, authorization of pay application from Cornerstone Detention Products. TJ?
Yes, this is an invoice, like Dustin was saying, from Cornerstone Detention Products for our door slider replacement out at Highway 6 jail. We've reviewed this and everything looks to be good to go. We recommend for approval.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Right under item K, grant proposals. K1 is our ARPA discussion. K1A is authorization of legal services invoice from Haley and Olson for ARPA matters for July. Their July services total $2,100. It's been reviewed and recommended for approval.
All right, any questions?
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion. Second. Any, no other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
K1B is regarding the professional services agreement with BKD / Forvis, authorization of grant administration services invoice through July. This one totals $2,682.93, and it has been reviewed and recommended for approval.
All right. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you.
K2 is regarding the bipartisan infrastructure law discussion. I just checked and I do not see Georgina on. We were due to have an update today, so we will communicate with her after court.
All right, thank you.
So no action needed.
One question though, with that being said, do we have anything that is being considered or anything that's in the works right now?
I was supposed to be here to report today, and she was on early, and then I don't know what happened, whether she dropped.
She had like some sort of audio issue.
She had an audio issue, and
One other comment, if I could, Judge.
Yeah.
And Dustin, would it be appropriate at some point in time to look at where we are with this agreement to see if we need to move to a different agreement or a different company or somebody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, moving.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Judge. Under item K3, and we'll do K3 and K4 together if that's okay. K3 is regarding the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services Title 4E grant contract. This is authorization of Title 4E Child Welfare Services claim quarter ending December 31st, 2022. K4 is authorization of Title 4E legal assistance claim for quarter ending June 30th, 2023. Francis?
Yeah, so K3 being Title IV for welfare services, and then K4 for legal services for personnel reimbursement. So one is for the quarter ending December 31st, and then the legal services side is for the quarter ending June 30th, 2023.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve K3 and K4?
So move.
Have a motion? Second? Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
K5 is regarding the Texas Indigent Defense Commission Indigent Defense Improvement Grant Program, authorization of grant application renewal and related resolution for the Mental Health Managed Council Program. So this was the fourth year of a multi-year grant administered by the specialty court. Francis, did you have anything additional to add to this?
No, other than it is, like you said, just a renewal. So just approving to continue applying for this grant.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
K6 is regarding the statewide automated victim notification service SAVINS grant, authorization of maintenance grant contract with the Office of the Attorney General. The purpose of this grant program is to work with victims of crime and keep them updated on court settings, events, and also their rights. The OAG will reimburse the county for allowable expenditures up to $25,938.88, and it's recommended for approval.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
K7 is regarding victim coordinator and liaison grant, authorization of grant contract number C00926 with the Office of the Attorney General. Back in April, the court approved the submission of this grant application for the victim coordinator and liaison grant for the DA's office. It's for one full-time position. The grant award of $49,500, and the term of the grant is up to 2 years. We just need a motion to approve this grant contract.
All right, any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
I have motion and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Under item L, Department and Office Specific Requests, L1 is Constable Precinct 4, authorization of cell phone request. Ken?
Yes, we received a request from Constable 4 for Constable Guerrero, a new cell phone. We would pay a price for the case to go along with it, of not to exceed $45. The phone is free, but the monthly service charge is $39.99, plus the option to add the hotspot is an additional $5. So it would be a total of charge of $44.99, and plus any applicable taxes and fees.
So the hotspot, that's an option?
Yes.
Are we
It
providing
sounds
one?
like they're providing the option, or requesting the option for the hotspot.
Okay, and that's something they need, you think, or what?
That's my question always, Ken.
I know it is, and
I would just assume we're gonna
With,
get into that situation.
well, and with the addition of the tower and the coverage being better, I can understand there might be needs for conversations on a cell phone, but in the car and on their radios, they should be good.
but the hotspot is like,
Yeah, that's more for
Well, but-
data, internet access.
I'm just saying too, if they had an area that they were in that, I just don't understand if there's the ability to communicate without the hotspot. I think that's what's important.
I think that, but I don't know about if they're wearing the radios.
Could we get a report on how many hotspots we have out there, and what our cost is?
We can get that, I think.
And I think they need to be, I agree, justified, or else everybody's gonna want one.
Well, and I'll share too. I mean, I'm not stepping on any toes here, I don't think, but like the sheriff's department is turning in a lot of their MiFi separate hotspots and adding hotspots to their cell phones as they upgrade their cell phones.
So the cell
it's
phone
just-
becomes a hotspot, is what you're saying. It's just a feature.
It's
you
just
add on.
turning it on, is matter of fact.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how to fight or defend hotspots. I mean, I use mine excuse me. When you're in an area where, I've been in hotels where I didn't have a connection, or you were gonna have to pay separate for a connection, and I could just hook to my phone, with my computer.
Right.
So
I do the
that's
same.
more or less what that type of thing is for. Of course, in their cars, I know they got their computers already hooked up, so, and we have service there. So I guess I can work on trying to get a better explanation of why hotspots are needed or not needed.
Yeah, and, you know, you have a policy around it. I mean, I think more communication, where we drop off old style communication, we're picking up new style, just understanding,
Yes,
you know, what it's costing to,
right. And I mean, I know you have some of the same problems
Yeah.
I do out where I'm at.
Yeah.
I'm using that kind of communication all the time out where I live because I don't have a good connection otherwise.
Right. Do all the laptops have all the, what are they?
Ear
Talk
cards.
buds? They have ear cards.
The laptops that are in service, I think, by the sheriff's department.
So is he talking about Wi-Fi or is he talking about cell use? Because I know when I'm
Cell-
out riding,
cell use.
out in the rural areas, I have to get in certain spots because I can't connect to people downtown.
Well, there's two different things. The hotspot is like tethering your computer to it to get a connection.
Right, and I have a hotspot, like you said, for when I go out of town, because I know our firewall doesn't like us connected to hotel
Yes.
Internet services. But I was wondering, because you're saying a cell phone, and I do know I have a hard time communicating with people when I'm out riding in the rural area. So I was wondering, are they saying that this hotspot is going to help, like Wi-Fi calling, if he's out there in those hard to
No, it doesn't
communicate
really
areas?
help on the Wi-Fi calling. It only helps if you are
Okay.
trying to connect another device to communicate with.
So he doesn't want his hotspot for his cell phone? Oh, he does? I thought I was reading that he did.
Well, it is, yes. Your cell phone can act as a hotspot device.
Okay.
But it comes back to my question, how often is it used and how many do we have out there? And do we have and obviously we don't have a policy right now, but maybe we need to come up with one.
Can we, I would make a motion to defer this today to allow time to consider Commissioner Smith's request on how many
okay?
Okay.
use
Ken, you
of.
got a comment?
Oh, well, I was going to say that even one of my folks that works for me, for her to work from home, she needed a hotspot because out where she lives, there's not another means to connect her computer to
I guess
communicate.
your hypotheticals are confusing me. See, because we're blending in to use it like for Wi-Fi and to blend it with cell phone usage. And my thought is, if he's asking for a hotspot at $5 more a month for his phone, I would just hate to have somebody with law enforcement out there and they're in a spot and they can't connect with that phone because you do have dead
No.
spots out in the rural areas.
The hotspot is to connect another,
To the Wi-Fi.
yeah, to.
That's what I asked him. Was it for the cell phone or the
It is
Wi-Fi?
to connect, like a laptop to the internet.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
internet
this
conne-
is
it's internet
for-
connection.
Yes, it's an internet connection.
Not
Not
communication.
communication.
Well, maybe I'm reading the notes
Not
wrong.
verbal.
Because it's asking for a new cell phone with a case and service for his new deputy. And then in addition to that, they want to add a hotspot for $5 a month. Is the
Your
hotspot for
phone-
Wi-Fi or the cell phone?
Your phone has a hotspot connection on it. All you got to do is tap on a button and you'll, he can probably explain it
No, I
better.
know what I got a hotspot.
Yeah.
And I guess, I understand what Commissioner Smith is saying, and I agree, I want to see it. First, though, I'm trying to ascertain what you're saying the usage is. Is this for the deputy to use it on his person, or is this for him to have the capability to get to the Wi-Fi? See, it's a difference. If it's going to enable his phone to be stronger in
Commissioner,
that
so
spot.
it won't enhance his phone
Okay.
service. What it does is if he needs to get into the, or she needs to get into Wi-Fi,
Uh-huh.
they go in through
The
the
phone.
Wi-Fi on the phone.
On the phone.
And then they have that ability on a laptop.
But the communication's
whatever
always
they're
there.
using.
Yes.
But,
Okay.
you know, I just thought about this as well. I know we approved a lot of these during COVID because we had a lot of people
They're
working
working from home.
Exactly.
and they're not anymore.
Right,
And so I think it's time to reevaluate. Yeah.
to see where they are.
I'll try to get a better rundown of what the use, some of the usages are, you know, some of the, or at least some of the heavier users of. Like I say, I can talk from, we have one MiFi, and I'm not, I'm trying to separate phone from that service, but we have one hotspot in our office, and again, because my heavy user as y'all may or may not know, on Munis is Misty. And she's literally working at home many times at night trying to make plane reservations for sheriff's office or whoever, or correcting people at hotels that can't get in. And so,
That brings
We're
up another
stating-
issue that we probably don't need to.
We don't even want to talk about that.
Yeah,
Let's
we
not go
well,
there.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying, she doesn't have a connection without the without the hotspot. So,
Okay,
Did you make a motion to defer? Okay, second.
we have a motion second to defer. Any other questions? No other questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
All right, L2, County Sheriff, approval of order declaring certain property as not meeting the criteria for salvage or surplus and authorizing the disposal of said waste property. This is regarding vests, helmets, and tasers. Ken and David?
oh, I'm sorry, I received a list from the sheriff's office on a number of 40 vests and 4 helmets and 10 tasers. We do not, we request from the court to allow us to take those and have them destroyed. We don't put those back through on auction or anything like that. And so I have a court order here for that. I provided the list that he sent to me, and it included 3 Garrett Super Scanner 5s. We will take those in our office and reuse those in another area. So just to be clear, but basically it's to allow us to destroy these items from the sheriff's department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
All right, under item M, additional items, M1's Heart of Texas Housing Finance Corporation, discussion and or action regarding board appointment. Jim McDermott had sent us a notice that he is resigning his director president position on the Housing Finance Corporation board. The county has typically recommended a board member to the other counties who then vote to confirm that selection. So just wanted to get this on the court's radar and ask y'all to be thinking about an appointee for that spot.
Okay, so we'll continue to work and try to get a name to bring back to
Would
the
it,
court.
would it be appropriate to allow the judge's office, in coordination with the other 5 counties, to put forward a nominee for this board? Would that be an appropriate?
Yes, sir. Yes.
That'd be my recommendation, unless somebody else has somebody they want to put on. Well, you can always forward it to the judge's office for consideration, but that gets us moving forward.
Is that what we've been waiting on? That's not what we've been waiting on. We've been waiting for anybody to come up with somebody, right?
Well, so we've reached out to several people, including Charlie Olson, to start getting some names together that I can bring back full court or.
Okay, that'll work.
whatever.
So we don't have a deadline on this right here then?
Well, it needs to be filled, I mean, I guess.
Why don't we put a deadline on it? Next time we meet, you either have to have your names or,
Okay.
let's do that.
weeks? Okay.
All right, we just want to defer today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Motion to defer.
Second.
Have motion to defer and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
M2 is discussion and interaction regarding appointments to McLennan County Park Plan Committee. This is for the McLennan County Parks Recreation and Open Space Master Plan update. So we approved the agreement with Mundo back in July, and the next step is to create this Park Plan Committee. So Judge, I know you've been thinking about maybe how to structure this committee.
Yeah, so we could, ask the commissioners to bring some names forward. I may have a few myself, and we can bring it back into court to narrow it down to what's needed. On these grants, it is that one of the requirements is that you have community people in the county that, hopefully they'd be people that use the lakes, like people that fish and boating and those kind of things, to be on this committee. And I think the other thing is have people that maybe understand what the county's purpose is out there, and that we don't build something we can't afford to keep up and those kind of things. But so just letting everyone know if you have recommendations. So people that boat and fish, there's skiing, there's different things out there that you can do. Hadn't seen any scuba divers, but I mean, I'm not eliminating anybody. Sheriff's Department may want to practice out there. So anyhow, I look forward to getting any recommendations anybody might have. Probably need to pick at least one that's a kind of resident out there by the park. So they'll get buy-in from the local community. I don't go there. All right.
So is this committee gonna take a broad look across the county, or is
No,
it focused on one?
Well,
focused on
actually, the
Trading
grant could be in a park anywhere, right, Dustin?
That's right. So yes, so it really is kind of looking at a comprehensive look at the county, and then through the committee meetings, then surveys will be generated. There'll be a website set up looking for public feedback. So yes, it is. Our focus can be the trading house, but it is a broad look at the county as a whole.
All right. So it's just a report, right? We don't need action.
Right. We just, if we could maybe bring those names forward on the 19th agenda.
Okay.
I know Mundo would like to get the plan, the committee meeting scheduled and start getting that process rolling. So if we could approve those on the 19th, that would be beneficial. So we could just defer today.
All right, I'll make a motion to defer.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
M4 is authorization of order approving the temporary closure of a portion of Ford Street in Precinct 4. Commissioner Perry?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the third year that the neighborhood has held this, and we assist them. We do provide barricades that are put up, so it is done appropriately and properly. So we're just requesting permission today, so I make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
We had a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
M5 is a ratification of a letter of support for Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network's development of diversion center in the Heart of Texas region. Heart of Texas Behavioral Health Network has submitted a proposal to HHSC for this multi-program needs and capacity assessment of a diversion center program. And this is just ratification of the letter of support from the county, just basically stating that we are committed to supporting this project in the community.
All right, I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion?
I had just a question. Because at the conference this past week, they talked about our local mental health authority, and I saw where the Behavioral Health Network is our local mental health authority.
Right.
That's a mouthful. But they were talking about the composite of that board or that commission, and they were mentioning, do we have anyone from the sheriff's office that sits on there? Is the sheriff's
On
office
local-
on there?
Yeah, on behavioral, well, we have what's called Behavioral Health Leadership Group. That's the name of it, isn't it, Dustin?
Behavioral health leadership team is, yes.
Yeah, team. And
Okay.
so, yes, we, in fact, we have David Ives on there. We've got Chief Blossman's available. We have several members. And then also we have judges, Judge Hodges and Devin Igam that interact in it. The DA is part of it. Dustin, who else? You and I, Commissioner
Right.
James.
Okay, and I guess,
And then a bunch of foundations and hospitals.
okay, when it comes to, like, what is the diversion center? Is that something new? Is that, that's not what they're building. They're building a new facility out there.
Yeah, that's part of the.
Crisis center.
That's part of the,
That's gonna be inside the crisis center?
yeah. So this, it expands the beds that were available at DePaul.
Mm-hmm.
So it replaced, there were something like 7 or 8 beds at DePaul. This is a 19-bed facility that will give us more capacity there. But yeah, it's in the new building that,
Okay, it's gonna be in the new
Rebuilt.
crisis center.
and that we funded with ARPA dollars.
Yep.
Okay. Is it something that Dennis can send out? I'd just like to read up on it. I found that the class that I was sitting in was extremely interesting when they were talking about partnering law enforcement with mental health in order to come up with diversion solutions. And so I knew we were doing it, but I didn't know how we were doing it. And so I'd just like to read up more on exactly what our diversion plan looks like.
Okay?
You want to have Chief talk about what we're doing as far as the
Yeah, I mean, we've got.
diversion or no?
Okay.
Probably good.
Like the actual, don't you have a certain amount of deputies that are trained for mental health and things like that?
Yes, and so what this center is going to provide, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Sorry.
There you go.
What the center is going to provide is more options for law enforcement to divert arrests from the jail to proper mental health resources. Oftentimes, you'll have someone in crisis, and when first responders arrive, they're trying to resolve multiple problems. They're trying to resolve the problem for maybe the business that's, calling for help where this crisis is happening. And this center will afford them options to decide, does this need to be someone that goes to jail or somewhere else we can go? Prior to that, it was the hospitals and the jail that kind of felt the brunt of some of these crises. So it's just supposed to add some resources to the community. In addition to that, Commissioner Jones, we do have mental health deputies that currently we are asking them to track matters that happen so we can go back and look at other options for, different outcomes.
Okay. Do we have 2 or 4? I knew we had some.
Well, currently you have 3.
3?
And we're evaluating that program right now. There was a movement to try to have a 24-hour coverage on patrol where you always had someone with specialized mental health training. Right now, we're keeping results on just, things that happen at our jail, things that happen in the community, and we're evaluating if we need to bring back a core group to just track and, kind of develop and follow up with management plans in addition to our behavioral health network partners. And so right now, we're kind of in an evaluation period of those efforts.
Okay, I knew it's an extremely valuable program, because what sometimes can be disheartening is that you have a person in crisis, and I've seen this on several occasions. You can have a person in crisis, and the family can call for someone to come and will take them away, and it's usually law enforcement. And where they were just maybe a family disturbance, or unruly behavior, it escalates if you don't have trained people there, and it goes to terroristic threat, refusal to be arrested. I've seen people that probably should have been diverted to a facility that was not because they did a crime, but because that's not why the police were called, but in the interaction, then they're assessed, they're assessed a charge. And so they end up going into our Highway 6 jail. And so that's why it was so interesting to me. It's an issue I've been covering for a while, kind of following for a while. And I knew we were doing something, but I wasn't really sure. And so when I saw this, I just want to get some more information on exactly what is our diversion program and exactly how are we helping the community when we do have people in crisis.
It's supposed to open up options because there's not a cookie cutter approach for any crisis or any, specific family or needs for any consumer or potential consumer. And oftentimes, law enforcement, if there are the resources in our community, the folks that are there in real time, they may not have access to the rest of the resources. And that's where we're trying to bridge the gap between our mental health unit so they can go back in and read reports and find out how could we change the outcome with maybe a management plan because, law enforcement's probably going to be called back again.
That's true. This is my last question, and let us move on. But how are we doing that bridge? Because I know when the idea first came up, the thought was to take social workers and partner them with law enforcement and then have them go out to the site. And then there would be this calm, trained voice that would calm people down. But then they found out that social workers were not that prone to want to go to those situations because they could escalate. So then the thought was, well, let's train law enforcement who will go out because they have, they're trained in conflict. So now we have to train them in how to de-escalate. So how is that working? Because I saw there were several occasions where the caseworker just didn't go. And so then the person just ended up getting arrested because it escalated all the way up with untrained law enforcement. So now that we have trained law enforcement for these situations, is that working out better for us? That's not a program y'all put on hot plate. Put over to the side and you're evaluating if you should bring it back, is it?
No, that's it's going to come down to case by case on every one of these responses. And so, mental health is not something that is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And so we're going to constantly be trying to find the proper resources. And that's what we're trying to build right now at the sheriff's office is just someone that knows what all resources are available in our community so we can call on them when needed. And so, if you have a crisis, there's certain patrolmen that are going to respond, and then there's certain behavioral health network or MCOT workers that can respond as well. But the availability is not always 24/7 to fit that model in which you were speaking of. And so,
I think if there's some of y'all's plans are in transition, and so is some with Behavioral Health Network as well. And so I think in about a month or so to get that group back together, the Sheriff's Department's dealing with the jail, to get Daniel Thompson discuss it too, and kind of show a little bit more how the community is working together on this. On this particular item that we're talking about, this actually has to do with a HHSC grant that was a rider on the general appropriations bill, that if we could get approval on it, we can move forward, try to see if we can get more grant money to deal with the issues that Chief's talking about.
I would move to approve M5.
Okay, is there a second? A motion been made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passed. Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
All right,
All right, item M6, authorization of amendment to the McLennan County Employee Policy Guide to adopt section 7.18 shift differential pay under chapter 7.0 compensation. Anna?
Thank you, Dustin. I'm gonna request to defer this item. I'm still needing to edit the policy a bit, and I'll hope to bring it back up on the next agenda.
okay. Is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
M7, discussion and/or action regarding the McLennan County Appraisal District 2024 Board of Directors candidate nominations and related resolution. So under the Texas Property Code, each taxing unit entitled to vote may nominate by resolution one candidate for each of the 5 positions to be filled. We just have to submit those back to the chief appraiser before October 15th. That will give us, we have 2 more court sessions on September the 19th and on October the 3rd. We can then submit that back to the chief appraiser, and then by October the 30th, we'll receive the ballot back from them, and then by December the 15th, we need to vote and submit, actually submit our ballot back to the presiding officer.
Okay.
So no action needed today, but defer and be thinking of names. So,
All right, is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
M8, approval of order granting exemption from competitive bidding for camera system and awarding contract to Sedaptic Incorporated for County Jack Harwell Detention Center facility. Ken?
For quite a while, we've been trying to consolidate and keep our security at the jail in Jack Harwell and even juvenile under similar systems. And we've consolidated that under Sedaptic. Sedaptic isn't on any kind of cooperative agreement or state contract, but they've been doing a good service for us. And in that, keeping things similar, we had a situation where some camera system went out at Jack Harwell. And I'm looking for a court exemption, and we've been doing that under the safety of the county, under that 262.024A2. And they're going to replace NVR and 16 cameras in Jack Harwell in the amount of $29,566. If the court will approve that, we'll move forward with that little project.
All right,
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
M9, discussion and/or action regarding the courthouse Christmas lighting ceremony, including approval of orders for acceptance of donations, committee updates, and related matters. TJ?
Yes, so this is just an agenda item to come before court. We'll have discussions as things progress all the way up until the lighting ceremony. As of right now, I think we're kicking around December 15th is kind of the date. We wanted to get past the City of Waco's Christmas program that they're going to have the first part of the month. We do have a few things that we want to try to do this year as far as raising additional funds to, get more inflatables, more things for the kids to do, things of that nature. So we're kind of looking for the court's opinion on potential bake sales, donations for lunch plates, things like that. Does the court see any issues with that?
Not if they're all legal. I mean, I think that people that's got the great ideas, as long as they run it past Dustin and get clearance from that standpoint, I'm good with it. I don't know what anybody else feels, but I think that brings in everybody kind of pitching together. It creates a lot more festive atmosphere, I think, when a lot of employees are involved.
TJ, I know we discussed this last year about trying to move up the date and not be so late so that we actually have, a lot of people actually put up decorations right after Thanksgiving. I know it may sound early for some of y'all, but they do. And so waiting till the 15th, that's only 10 days before Christmas. I mean, is there a way that we can move that up realistically? I think last year we had problems with why we waited till a little bit later. So I personally would really like to see it move closer to the 1st of December, to be honest with you.
We could definitely take a look. We're going to have another meeting next week to discuss various things. So we can take another look at the calendar. I think the biggest thing is the city of Waco is going to have their festivities on that first week in December. And then I think there was a conflict with the court on that second week in December. But we can definitely, we'll take a look at it and see what we can do.
It's so beautiful, you just hate not to share it for a longer period of time. That's
I
my thought.
Yeah, I agree.
They may have a conflict, but they're not, certainly the 1st of December, they're not doing something every night, so.
No, I think theirs is 3 days long. So we could potentially, jump in there and piggyback on that and make our thing happen too.
Yeah, I
I
think
agree.
that's my personal thought.
I agree with you.
So there's a conflict with the 4th through the 8th?
The 8th, yeah, I believe there was something that was going on where a couple couldn't attend on the 8th, and then let me look back. December 1st.
I don't know what December the 1st is, but
It's Friday.
if we could shoot.
And I would assume that's the Friday the 1st. Is that the,
When they had.
That's the city of Waco. They're going to do
that's the city of Waco?
yeah, I believe it's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Mhm.
So I think the hope was to be able to do it on a Friday night, but it may just be where it does need to be on a weeknight, I guess.
Yeah, and we can potentially look back on that too. We were hoping to do a Friday, just maybe we get some more participants, folks not having to go home and get the kids ready for school the next day and all those things. But we may take a look back and see if a Thursday works better and try to get something done then.
I think it'd be great. The sooner the better in my mind.
All right. Any
Can
other
I
que-
clarify a point? Sorry, this is Anna, wanting to just mention something. TJ mentioned fundraising and bake sales, and I just want to be sure that we have a non-solicitation employee policy, and so I just wanted to be understood that means, this would be, the court is okay with soliciting for this event and this purpose in the form of fundraising, bake sales, and food plate sales. Is that correct?
If it's legal, I think that's.
My
what it
understanding
is.
was non-solicitation was like for personal, like my kiddos raising money to take a band trip or something, that type of solicitation. Certainly not something that's county sanctioned. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, I just wanted to.
And it would be fine if, if the court's okay with it, then it's within the legal bounds and we can proceed.
Me, not for thee.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right.
And so, Judge, we have this as a standing item just as things come up to be approved. So
Okay.
I think we just note it as no action taken at this time, and we'll just keep bringing things to court.
All right, thank you. No action needed.
Item M10 is regarding the McLennan County Group Health Plan, authorization of health plan, contribution increases, and plan name changes. Anna?
Yes. This request here serves just to confirm the option selected by the court during budget sessions when Randy McCraw came and spoke to the court and gave the option to an outline of possible increases or changes to contributions for the health fund or the health plan. And so this is just confirming and outlining that option that was selected. And so a quick summary here, what the court had agreed upon was an increase to county contribution for 10%, an increase to employee contribution for the consumer-driven health plan of 2.5%, an increase to the employee contribution for the base plan of 5%, and then an increase to the county's contribution to the health savings account from $600 to $2,000. And also, just a plan design change there, the the consumer-driven plan deductible being decreased from 3,500 to 3,200. These were the kind of decisions made by the court, and we just wanted that documented for record that that was the selection or option made by the court. And then in addition to kind of adding that to the record, HR is wanting to request the court's approval of changing the names of our two plans so that they better reflect how those plans actually function. And so that's what that's included under this request as well. And so rather than calling the high deductible plan the consumer driven health plan, which doesn't really shed any light to how the plan works, HR is proposing the plan name be instead the health savings plan, so it ties directly to the health savings account. We've had employees give feedback to the HR department stating that they didn't realize or were unaware that they had a health savings account that the county was contributing funds to. And so we want to make it very clear just from the jump on the using the title to help communicate that. For the base plan, we would like to change that plan name to the copay plan because that's kind of one of the primary design or primary features of that plan is that it has copay for office visits. And so we think these would better market those plans to employees.
All right, questions?
I have a question on the HSA contribution. Have we discussed, or will that work the same where half will be up front and then the rest in those later 6 months, how we do now? Or because it's a higher amount, will that be broken up differently?
How was it done in the past again?
So out of the 600, 300 was up front, and then the remaining was given. So I didn't know if that was the intent.
How long, 6 months later, or when was it?
Yes, right, Anna, so yes, so you got, for that first 6 months, you got the half at the beginning, and then the last 6 months of the year, the remainder was broken up, so.
In January, the $300 would be available to the employee more immediately. And beginning in June, there were $50 contributions monthly through the end of the year.
What was the thought behind breaking it up, Anna?
And so it really was just to give the employee kind of a bulk of that money is available.
A buffer.
at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, yeah, if you needed, if you had an expense at the beginning of the year, it'd kind of help out.
Yeah, I mean,
Help out with that.
As far as why not all of it up front, I suppose, was it?
Well, so that runs into, with our turnover and stuff like
Somebody
that.
using it and leaving?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, somebody walks in.
I think if you'd probably have a hard time getting that back.
Yeah.
Maybe quarterly?
I mean,
Quarterly basis?
I agree with the half, Fred, I just didn't know if we were still gonna use those same,
I would, I mean,
same
the way
chunks,
I
half,
imagined when we made this change is that we would still do that.
leave it the same
Yeah.
breakdown.
Half and half?
Half and half?
Because
Half
you
up
could do
front
quarterly.
and then
I
the balance
support
paid
that.
out over the last 6 months.
I would support that.
I just wanted to make sure that was the intent.
Okay.
Perfect.
Do we need a motion to, for recording purposes, M10, or what, Anna?
I think for recording purposes for the first part of just the outline of the contribution changes.
And
And then I believe the next item, the plan name changes that I'm requesting, I believe that would need an action.
Okay,
All right.
okay,
Is that right, Dustin?
okay.
Right, I think if we just do it, just authorizing the health plan contribution increases and plan name changes, that should cover everything.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion second, any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Thank you.
Under item N, Americans with Disabilities Compliance Project, N1, authorization of professional services invoice of CPNY doing business as STV. N1A is regarding ADA study for the month of July. This invoice totals $1,144.50 and has been reviewed and recommended for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Been motion made second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
N1B is Records Building ADA renovations for July, invoice number 5. Ken?
Yes, they have an amount of $14,545 working on the design for us to renovate the records building to meet ADA requirements.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve N1B.
Second.
Motion made second. Any other discussion?
I had a question. What is STV doing business as? Are they a different company? They're
That's
just working under
CP&Y.
another name?
Yeah, just, they changed the name from STV bought out CP&Y, and they're changing to
It's the same people?
the
Yes,
same
ma'am.
people.
Which was previously
Wallace Group.
Yeah.
Wallace. Started out Wallace.
Yep. Okay. See, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
All right, Judge, that should take care of all the action items.
All right. Mercedes, anything else? Anything else to come before the court? If not, we stand adjourned.